Hey everyone, my name is Max. Welcome to the Axie Infinity Ultimate Beginner's Guide. You might have seen a couple of videos of mine. I already have been putting videos on YouTube for a little bit. I am actually the host, or co-host, because Tom is one of my co-hosts as well, co-host of the Method to the Mythos podcast, which is how this started, but I'm also one of the leadership figures in the Method to the Mythos Axie Infinity team. And yeah, I've just been, as much as I've been putting videos out on strategy, I realized there wasn't a whole lot of videos out there that give a really comprehensive overview of Axie Infinity and how to get started with it. And also addresses some of the questions that new players would have, because it can be difficult to know how to get started. So it's not just me here, of course. I did mention I have a team, which is the Method to the Mythos team, and I have both Tom and Carter, who are members of the Method to the Mythos team here with me. So Tom, Carter, why don't you give the guys, or everyone who's watching, just a little introduction as to who you are?
Yeah, well, I'm Tom, and as Max mentioned, I'm co-host with on the Method to the Mythos podcast. And Max discovered Axie a few months ago, and he presented it to me. And as a millennial who's worked a series of incredibly low-paying jobs, I see an incredible amount of earning potential in this game, and I'm excited to invest into it because I see that it's changing the lives of many people in many different nations, and I'm excited to be a part of that change.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Carter, what about you?
I am a new player to Axie. You actually showed me this game, Max, and I've seen a lot of different aspects of it that I like. There's the earning potential, obviously, which this whole game is kind of based around, but there's also the community aspect that I really like, and the people are very, very friendly in the Axie discords and things like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really like the Discord. The Discord's a good place for anybody who is watching this and isn't in it. Get yourselves into the Axie Discord. The community is really good, really accepting, and always willing to help out. If you put a question up there, either myself or one of the other people, possibly even Carter or Tom, they can answer your question. And by the way, in case you guys are watching this at a later time, I know that Tom and Carter, both you guys are going to be putting videos up. So you guys are newer players getting involved in it. And if any of you guys watching are in a similar boat and want to know, hey, well, what's it like for a new player? I'm actually going to put links to their videos so you can watch them play up in the corner. If you're watching this when it comes out immediately, you might not see these links, but for everyone else, check them out. Really good content. I'm sure these guys will put some great videos up. All right, and with that being said, let's get started. I feel like the best way to get started with this is just to give you a bit of an overview of what is Axie Infinity, who's the team that's developing Axie Infinity, where did it start, and where's it going. So to answer that question, Axie Infinity is this really awesome Pokemon-esque game where you have all of these Axies, which are specifically designed for turn-based battle. Now, the turn-based battles are really fun. They're a simple system, but they're actually quite complex on a strategy level. So that's where you get the skill floors and skill ceilings being quite far apart, actually. Really, really good players are very good strategically. They can make some good moves. And there's also another element to this game that changes it a bit, is that the breeding system is extremely complex. And if you've probably seen already, because I'm pretty sure that at any time that this is out, Ethereum is probably quite high in price, that the price, the floor to actually get in on this, it's pretty high. So not a lot of people can get in and start playing, but if you can, it's super rewarding. Now, as far as Axie Infinity goes, I am going to show you a bit of gameplay later, so if you want to see how the game plays, you're welcome to jump ahead to that if you really want to see it. If not, watch through the video, I'll get to it. I want to address a few things first. So I said the team that's developing Axie Infinity, and that team is, let me bring it up here, it is the Sky Mavis team. This is I really, really respect what these guys have done. They've developed a fantastic project here. Axie Infinity started, I believe, back in 2018. That's when things really started to get started with Axie Infinity. And at the time, you know, one of the things people say about current Axie is that, hey, it's so expensive. But, you know, it's expensive now because there is guaranteed value. You're not one of the early adopters who was investing in this, both time and money, and not knowing if it was going to turn out. At this point, we know that Axie Infinity is becoming a big thing. So that's why it's a little more expensive, is because all the players who've been playing and developing it as it is, you know, they've all put the risk in so that you don't have to. But because you're no longer putting the same amount of risk in, you got to pay a little more. So Sky Mavis does a few blockchain developments here, one of which is their Ronin wallet. But one way or another, I'm not going to spend too much time going into their team. I will leave a link down below, so if you guys want to check out their website, learn more about them, go ahead and check that out. One of the best ways to actually research on Axie Infinity, by the way, is to view their white paper. I will also leave a link to this in the description, so anybody who wants to see the white paper and actually read through all of the introductions, all of the Sky Mavis team's specific write-ups for how to play this game and all of the elements of it, really, really useful. I'm not going to go over all of these because there's just no point. You guys can read through it. If you have any questions, though, feel free to ask me those questions in the comments. I'll get back to you and make sure that I have an answer. And then if you want to go a little bit further than that now, I want to talk about where Axie's going, because that's a question that's on a lot of people's minds right now. If I go back to the main website here and scroll down, you can see, and I think these are outdated, to be honest. Let me scroll up a bit. We have 25,000 plus Ethereum. I like that there's a plus there because it's definitely more than that at this point. That has been traded in the in-house marketplace. That's fantastic. 300 Ethereum was the most expensive Axie ever sold. That is crazy. And this actually doesn't count the most expensive purchase. The most expensive purchase was land, which is way above that. And even 19,000 monthly active users, I think that's well below what it actually is now. I believe we're well over 40. So, I mean, this game is growing exponentially, and you can see it. They just made an announcement recently where they had a huge funding round, and they had really big names such as, the co-founder of Reddit, Mark Cuban. All these people actually put money in to support the project because they see the value in it. It's making really, really big waves. And there's even a documentary out that talks about the kind of impact that this game is having on countries all around the world. Some less fortunate countries than the Western countries that some of us live in. I'll leave a link to the documentary as well because it's a really good documentary. It's only about 20 minutes long. It's worth checking out. So with that being said, I want to touch on something because I mentioned it there, land. I said that the most expensive purchase ever made was land. Well, land is an interesting thing, and I'm going to probably address this in a later video once land becomes a little bit more of a tangible topic for us to talk about. For the time being, I just want to let you guys know that Axie is more than just a turn-based Pokemon fighter. There are lots of plans in the future to develop an entire, a universe, a network around this Lunatia, and land is a big part of that. So one of the biggest purchases ever made in Axie, I think it currently is the biggest actually, it was like $1.6 million, and it was a bunch of Genesis plots. Now to give you an idea, this was made a few months ago. $1.6 million bought, I believe it's 9 Genesis plots. Just recently, a Genesis plot was purchased for $550,000. You could just imagine doing the math there, that initial investment that was made, I believe it was by Flying Falcon. You guys want to go search it up, you could Google the biggest purchase made on Axie, I'm sure it would come up. But that was a huge investment, and it seems to be in the right place right now. I could just imagine where it's going to grow into. So yeah, that's Axie in a nutshell, at least. I'm going to leave links so you can go a little deeper into it. And if you have any questions, ask me in the comments. But I have really, really big plans and confidence in Axie, and I'm excited to see where it's going. So with that being said, I feel like we're at a point where we're going to jump a little bit more into exactly getting involved with Axie. But before we go into that, Tom, you asked me a question a little bit before, and I think it's a really valuable question because there's other people here who are going to be watching this who have the same question. So I'm wondering if you could ask me that again, and then I'm going to try to answer it as best as I can.
Yeah, it's such an important question. Of all of the investment options available to people, why Axie?
Really good question. And I had to ask myself that too. I have been in Axie for a few months now, like just turn over the year when the purchase was made. Actually, I was interested in some of the big purchases happening and I wanted to get involved. Ethereum was still around, 1,500, so it wasn't a cheap investment, but I did it more as a risk because I thought, hey, you know what? I have the financial ability to do this and play with this. Let's check it out. That has changed completely now. I've become a little bit more familiar with, how the investment in cryptocurrency works because I've been in the cryptocurrency scene for well more than I've been into the Axie Infinity scene. So I've seen the volatility and the movement of the crypto market. But one thing I've always had confidence in is Ethereum. I know that the Ethereum network and Ether is probably the strongest cryptocurrency, and I say strongest because of its all-around value and its strength, its integrity, of all the cryptocurrencies out there, even Bitcoin. Personally speaking, I know that might string some controversy, but those are my thoughts. And one of the things that I've always known, because I've been an investor for many years, I've invested in traditional stocks, startups, I've done investment into peers of mine and their ventures, and even my own ventures when it comes to business. And one of the things that is constant is diversifying your assets. Now, one of the unique things about Axie in comparison to a traditional asset diversification is that Axie is linked to a two-stage investment growth opportunity. And I know that let me explain that a little bit more because it might sound hard to wrap your head around. It's that Axie Infinity has its own value, which grows in its own way based off of the internal system, such as breeding, playing, rewards, or even just Axies themselves appreciating in value, as well as the land. And Ethereum is connected to it, but actually being driven forward and growing in value independently. So what you have is you have these two connected yet independent growth opportunities. And I wouldn't say that you should put all your money in Axie. I personally don't agree with that. I agree with diversification. So I'm not saying go buy a bunch of NFTs, but NFTs should be something that you consider as part of your crypto portfolio. You should also probably hold or stake your own cryptocurrency as well to try and bring some income or bring some growth that way. And then you should still look to traditional investing. So I don't think you should all in on Axie, but why Axie? It's because it has that two-stage growth multiple. When you have Ethereum growing by 20% and you have Axie growing by even, let's say, 10%, that all adds up together, and then you get this huge valuation growth at the end of a long period of time that is not proportional to the traditional sense of investing. Think of it like this. Say you're investing in something and it costs American dollars to buy stocks. But then what ends up happening is the American dollar rises significantly in value over the year, and the company that you invested into also grows in value. So both of them are growing at the same time, which means you get higher values of return at the end. But that being said, there is a little more risk. So I want to kind of wrap up everything that I said there with the fact of understand the risk before you get into this, because there is risk to investing in this and it's not cheap. And now with that being said, because I just wanted to answer that question lightly, let's get into Axie Infinity. How do you get involved in it? Well, let's break it down to how to get involved in cryptocurrency first. And I'm not going to take too long on that, but you got to know how if you want to get involved with Axie. Axie Infinity works on a peer-to-peer smart contract purchase basis, which is on the Ethereum network. So you're going to need Ether in order to actually purchase things on the marketplace. Now, Ether can be bought a variety of different ways. One of the most popular ways is this company right here, which most people will know. This is Binance. I know there's a lot of mixed feelings on Binance, but it is a way for you to purchase Ether, and you can have it actually in your brokerage here and then send it to a independent wallet that you can link with Axie. Now, for those of you who don't know this, that independent wallet is more often than not going to be MetaMask. MetaMask is a cryptocurrency wallet. This is the traditional style that you've heard of, where you have to record a seed phrase, you have to secure your account, you have to make sure that everything, like the code and the address, is all correct. Got to make sure that you're smart about that. But you're going to need one of these in order to make an Axie account, at least for now. Axie Infinity is developing their new Ronin sidechain wallet, which is this wallet right here. It's coming up. Yeah, perfect. This one here. Don't mind me. I just used all my wrapped ETH here because we made a bunch of purchases for breeding. But anyway, this is a crypto wallet. Now, getting one of these is pretty straightforward. If you go to the MetaMask site and you actually run through the steps of downloading the extension and creating an account, it's very straightforward. The only thing I leave you with is just make sure you write down your 12 seed phrase, like your 12, I could say 12 word seed phrase, because it's pretty much words, and you have to make sure they're written in the right order, because that's going to be the way that you secure and access your wallet when all else fails. It's kind of like your questions of, where did you grow up, etc. So make sure you write those down. Once you have that set, though, you will actually have to use Binance or whatever you choose to use. If you're Canadian, you can use Coinberry. I like this one. It's pretty secure because they're licensed in Canada, but if you're not, you're going to have to find another option. Coinbase is another really big one you can use. Once you purchase your Ethereum on one of these specific brokers, you're then going to have to send it over to MetaMask. You would send it by going through the withdrawal section in your broker, going to MetaMask, choosing the right code, make sure you're on the right account, especially if you have different accounts for different Axie accounts that you have set up, like, you know, Carter and Tom, I have you guys have accounts on here so that we can keep everything connected. Just make sure you choose the right one, copy that, put it into the withdrawal address so that that is the destination address, and just send it over there. It takes a bit of time. You will have to pay a gas fee. Make sure if you're going to do that, watch the gas fee. Don't pay an outrageous amount of gas, like no $200-300 American dollars worth. Try and make it cheap. And if at the moment that you're trying to do it, you know, the middle of the day on Monday, you realize, oh, gas is really expensive, just be patient, okay? You got to be patient when it comes down to cryptocurrency, because if you try and rush through things, mistakes can be made. You're going to pay too much for stuff. Just take your time. Now, once you have that, I'm going to bring you over to the dashboard here. This is the numbers. This is all of the hardcore Axie Infinity data side of things, and that is your account. Now, I have my account here. This is my dashboard. You can see, you know, I'm sending Axies, buying Axies. It has all your information here. It has your assets, your SLP. But the biggest thing here is that it actually has ETH and WETH. This stands for wrapped ETH. This specifically is what you use to interact with the Axie Infinity Marketplace. So now, yes, unfortunately, you're going to have to do another transfer for now. I know the Sky Mavis team is going to change this, so if this changes in the future, I'm going to leave a link up in the corner to the new video on how to get Ethereum into your Ronin account, but you've got to get it into your Ronin wallet in order to use it. So you're going to have it in your MetaMask account, and then you're going to go to this bridge option here. From this bridge option, it's going to open up a couple of options for you. Yours is probably going to be this first one, which is deposit. These ones here are for withdrawing and upgrading. You may have to use this, but either way, we'll touch that on another video when we talk specifically about withdrawing assets and selling SLP. I'm going to go to deposit. Make sure that you have the right one selected in here. I am just going to do this really quick for you guys because I'm not worried about any of this information. Nobody can really use this to try and, you know, hack your account or anything, so not worried about that. I'm going to put that in there, choose Ethereum, just click on max. I don't have a whole lot in there because I don't need it in that usable wallet right now. Click next. It's going to give you this deposit confirmation saying, hey, look, are you sure you want to put this much Ethereum from your account here into this account here, or wallet here to this wallet here? Hit confirm. It's going to bring up a little confirmation box for MetaMask, which tells you, hey, look, you're trying to make this transaction. It's going to cost you this much gas. Now, this actually isn't bad, being only about 61 gas, but you can see here it says insufficient funds because I just hit max. So you're going to have to balance it out so that your amount paid is not more than you have in the wallet, and then it will tell you how much is actually going to go into your Ronin account. So just make sure that you play with that a bit. You can click on the edit gas fee, and you can choose a slower gas fee if you want. Please don't go into advanced and start playing with these numbers. It'll be the worst feeling you've ever felt in your life if you try and send a transaction and the contract fails and you waste all that money. Just use the already given percentages. These are based off of Ethereum gas fees, so use them. So you'd go ahead and do that. I'm going to reject this because I don't need to send anything to my account. And then I'm going to go back, and what you're going to see is you're going to then see Ethereum wrapped ETH, specifically in your Ronin wallet. It could take a little while. I've actually seen it take it upwards to maybe 20 minutes to process, so just be patient again. Patience is a virtue when it comes to crypto. Tom, I think you and I have found that out because we've had a couple of times when we had to wait quite a bit for Ethereum to come through, hey?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, for sure. So once you have here, now you are on the dashboard. And what you want to see is you want to eventually be able to download this program and see your wonderful Axies ready to fight. But you're not there yet. So I'm not going to go too deep on actual Axie team building here, and I'm not going to spend too much time going over meta because I'm making a part 2, which you guys will be able to access, and it's going to talk specifically about team building and meta in detail. So anybody who wants to know a lot about that, watch part 2. I'll go into more detail there. But what I do want to do is I actually want to give you guys a quick little introduction to the market and the inventory. You have your dashboard here, and within the dashboard you have inventory. You can click on that. This will show you your Axies. At the moment I have a couple of eggs. These eggs will be hatched pretty soon, and then I've got my Axies. You need at least 3 Axies to start playing, so you're going to have to go over here to the marketplace. Click on that. I already have the tab open. It's going to bring up this tab that looks like it has a lot of filtering options and a bunch of Axies. So the first page is probably going to be a bunch of eggs. Don't go buy eggs. You have no idea what they're going to be for the most part. Like, you can check the parents, just don't buy eggs for your first Axies. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to buy a frontliner, a midliner, and a backliner. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, well, which ones do I choose? don't worry, I'm going to go into a bit more detail on that, especially in the second video, but I'll give you guys something to work with for now, which is a resource I use to find this stuff. So let me show you it. The one I use is called Axies. This is a fantastic website. It has, as you can see right here, an Axie finder, a breeding simulator. You probably wanted to touch this. This is pretty advanced. I'll do a video on this later. Card tier list. This will be your best friend in the beginning. Axie builds and leaderboards. So you can research players, you can check out builds, you can go into card tier lists and find an Axie that works with you. Now, when it comes to choosing a frontliner, because that's where you start, I highly recommend starting with a plant. The reason I recommend that is, well, let's look at the data. You can see here, this is the database of Axie Infinity players and how they use the different types. The number one type used is a plant. And if you were to think, well, why is that? Are plants just that good? Yes and no. It's because plants are one of the most well-used frontliners. Their cards and their stats, everything just works. So you probably want to plant in the front. And the way that you're going to find that is you're going to use a balance between, let me just bring this up. This is the card list. The marketplace, and select the filter for plant here, and then you're actually going to use the marketplace to search and find your right plant. Now there's a lot of things to go through here, so I'm not going to spend too much time going into deep detail on this. The part 2 is going to go in much bigger detail on choosing Axies. So if you're here with a foundation of Axie and you just want to know, hey, how do I find the best Axie? What is the best team and how much is it going to cost me? I'm going to leave a little link up in the top here so you can just skip to part 2 because that is the video for you. For everyone else who's still here as a beginner, let me continue on. So I specifically have an extension downloaded that gives me a bit more information about Axies. Don't worry about that yet. The biggest thing that you want to know here from what you see is you get a Axie number. This is its number on the blockchain. This is when it was bred or born or developed. This is a really interesting and unique code. There can be no other Axie that has this code. It is intrinsically linked to that as part of its unique collectible value. There is never, even if they look identical, there is never two identical Axies because there is differences as to when they were born in the Axie Ethereum blockchain. So that's one really big defining point of an Axie. The next one is going to be the way it looks. I'm sure you can see that right away. The type it is, which this one is a plant, and then of course the cost. So a lot of floor Axies at the moment are going to be around this 0.025, 0.03. I think with Ethereum going down, the Axie prices go up a bit. When Ethereum goes up, the Axie prices go down a bit. But the cheapest Axies are usually going to run you about $150 to $200. And if you've already paid all your gas fees to get your Ethereum into your Ronin wallet, you don't have to pay any more gas fees. So what you see is what you pay. It's fantastic. For any new player who's in here now, this is one of the greatest things I've had introduced into this game. I used to have to pay gas fees to buy Axies. That sucked. So now that you're here, you have a couple more options, as you can see. Stages, I would not really play with these because there's just no point in it. You're not going to buy any eggs. You've chosen plant, so there might be eggs on here, but if you want to choose adult, go ahead. The biggest thing for you as a new player is probably going to be more along the lines of the pureness and maybe the breed count. One thing you're going to want to take into consideration is the breed count. I wouldn't recommend getting something with 7 breeds because if you're looking at this from an investment point of view, you want to have the opportunity to turn a profit on your investment. And the best way to turn a profit in Axie is to be able to breed your Axies. So you're just buying 3 Axies and all you're going to do is play with play arena and get SLP and sell it, then you do you. You really do you. There's no problem with you just getting a 7 breed that's really strong and playing arena. But for a majority of people, you're probably going to want to bring this down maybe to 4 or 5 to get started. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you have to pay too much or too little for an Axie and have no breeding potential on. And to go a little further than that, you can also choose specific cards or parts. So you can see they all have body parts. Let's say I want to see one that just has pumpkin. This is one of my favorite plant cards. Type it in there, click it as a filtered option. It will only show you plants who have that card, which is pumpkin. And you can kind of see here, pumpkin's pretty self-explanatory. It looks like a pumpkin. So you get that on there. That's the simplicity of it. That's how it works. You can go through, you can choose parts, you can choose stats as well because Axies have stats on everything. But I want to get you into an Axie specifically. So let's scroll down here a little bit. I'm just going to choose an Axie that probably works. I'm going to choose this one here. It's got a bit of a weird mouth, but it's okay. So we bring this Axie up now and we've tried to look a little bit deeper into it. And I'm going to go over a few of the most important things here. First, it's going to be the price of it. Price here is 0.076 Ethereum. This gives you a estimated valuation in American dollars. You have your buy now option, and then it tells you, because every Axie is auctioned, it tells you what the stat or the state of the auction is here. This person is not really changing much. They have the same start price as they do end price with 15 hours. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to choose a different one and hope it has a different price to go through. Just give me one moment here. Okay, we're going to choose this one. Hopefully it has a different price. Nope, it doesn't. Give me one moment. How about this one? Ah, fantastic. Okay, so this one starts at 0.08, and over the course of 2 days, it is going to continue to tick down until it gets to 0.04. That means you could possibly get this Axie for 0.04, but a lot of the times it's unlikely that an Axie is going to stick around until it hits its floor, so you want to determine the valuation of Axies, and you're going to do it by experience. Or you're going to do it by using a Axie value calculator. I don't really think there's any too good ones out there. Best way to do it, take a picture of this Axie or click on the link and then go into the Discord and paste it in there to get somebody's opinion on it. People in the Discord will tell you, hey, look, it's overvalued, or this is a good price for it, or maybe this isn't the Axie for you, it's a bad Axie, look for something else. So that would be my best advice to get feedback on the actual price of an Axie. Tom, Carter, you guys have me, so you can always use me, but I think we tend to buy Axies together a lot of the time, so we don't have a whole lot to worry about. But Discord works great for it, right? You guys know the Discord. You know how helpful everyone is in there.
Yeah, most definitely. Any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. We're here to learn, and we're here to learn together.
Exactly, yeah. Even just put it in the comments. I'll answer your questions. If you're interested in a specific Axie or the value on it, leave it in the comments. I'll get back to you and tell you if I think it's a good deal or what the valuation is on it. So, continue down. I want to get into the stats here. The stats are important. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory for anybody who's played video games before. Health is clearly health. The one thing to know here is that stats have a maximum level, and 61 is the maximum. So anything that has 61 health, that means it can't have any more health. That is the maximum amount of health that an Axie can have. So if you're looking for a tank and it's got 61 health, it's a pretty good sign. On top of that, we got speed. Speed is very self-explanatory. It's just your initiative. Depending on what your speed is, you will go first before another Axie or after another Axie in the turn order. So I'll do some gameplay later to show you what I mean, but speed is really self-explanatory. Skill's a little bit different. Skill has to do with a couple of unique factors, but I know that skill actually has to do with chaining because there is chaining benefits into things, and also has to do a little bit with initiative, but not a whole lot. So skill, a lot of people aren't focused on yet. I think that this will eventually become a more important factor, but at the moment it's not, and there's also no class that has 61 skill. So it's a unique fact there. Never 61 skill. Morale is really cool. It's one of my favorite ones. Actually, morale is linked to a couple of different things, one of which is critical strike. So criticals are great. You do double damage to people if it goes, but there's only a slight chance for it. And then also on top of that, there's this system called Last Stand, where if you get damaged and the damage is not enough to overkill you, then your Axie has a chance to go into what's called Last Stand. And I'll show you in the gameplay. It might not come up, but hopefully it does at some point, so I can tell you. But essentially, it's just a chance to get a move or two off or make a strategic play with an Axie who's alive for a very limited amount of time because you didn't kill them enough, or they were just close enough to surviving that hit that they got a last stand with it. Now, going down from there, a really important part, probably even more important than stats if you ask me, are the body parts, and then specifically speaking, the lower 4 body parts, which are the back, mouth, horn, and tail parts, which actually are your cards or your abilities. So these top 2 are the eyes and the ears. These are kind of a toss-up. Like, if you're somebody who enjoys fashionable Axies, maybe you don't like these ears, you could go for one that has nicer ears, but try not to get too crazy with it. These ears and eyes do actually attribute to stats. So if you got ears and eyes that were like bird, and they're based around speed and not around tank, then you're going to lose some health at the cost of gaining some speed. So just keep that in mind, but hey, play around with it. Get something that looks cool. Now, these bottom 4 are important. They translate directly to these cards. As you can see, they have the name over the cards. So Pumpkin, which is the back here, it is the October Treat card. Serious, which is the mouth, it's the Vegetal Bite. Beechwood and Stab, Cattail Slap. So these are the cards you use to actually play and fight in game, and it's really important for you to choose these carefully. because these are what are going to make or break your ability to play the game and grow and actually make money on breeding or selling SLP in the future. So these are really important, and a good way to choose these is by first off using the Discord, but try not to just spam in the Discord. You know, if you're just finding 100 Axies and you're posting them over and over and over, I mean, you'll probably get muted because that's just spam. So you got to do a bit of it yourself and then get final opinions from people. And the way you go about getting your own information acquired and developed is by using that resource I told you, Axie Zone. As you can see here, this is a card tier list, and you can actually go through and choose the types just like you could in the marketplace. So let's go to plant here, and you can see the cards and what they actually do and how they're ranked. S tier obviously is top, it goes to A tier all the way down to E tier and F tier. It's kind of funny that you got a poop card in the F tier. I mean, I know it's kind of silly and immature, but it always makes me laugh. And here's one thing to know, some of these low tier cards can actually work well if you can combo it correctly. So that's why it's always good to get Discord's opinion if you're really considering, like maybe you've got something that has Jar Barrage and you're like, you know, is this an F tier card? Is this terrible? I like everything else about this Axie. If you put it in the Discord, somebody might say, hey, no, that's actually a really tactical card. Look at the passive on it. You can mix it with anything else that you have on your Axie. But use these, and for the most part, just try and stick around this top tier, or go through and actually look at some of the Axie finders on the main page here, which you can bring over. You can find your perfect Axie by selecting cards, etc. But to go back to the marketplace now, once you have these cards chosen, then you just know, okay, this is the Axie I want. Now you can come up here and just confirm it has breeds. This one has 3 of 7, which is great. The more breeds it has, the more expensive it'll be to breed it next time. And we'll do a breeding video a little bit later on. Don't get too caught up in that now. That's a very advanced thing to do, so don't worry about it. If you're not somebody who's like, oh, I'm all in this for the breeding, you're gonna have to play for at least a month or so before you even can breed. So don't worry about it. Check video 3 or part 3 when it comes out. For the time being, just know that lower breeds is better, but usually costs more. And now on the side of breeding, because I want to just leave you with this a little bit, I told you I have an extension that actually tells me what the genes are in a specific Axie. You can download this. It's on the Google Chrome store. It's called Freaks Axie extension. This is important because when it comes to breeding, you have specific options that when you mix them together could come out with different results. And you want to make sure that you don't have too many weird unusable cards in here, so that when you go to breed, you don't end up with this unusable mutt that just does not suit its purpose. And that's going to be something you balance when it comes to buying an Axie and the price. You know, if it's really cheap, you might want to consider, oh, well, is this thing got really good genes? And then if you go over the stats, or if you don't want to download that, another option is you can actually highlight and copy the numerical number of it, and then go over to, and I'll leave this in the description as well for you guys, the Axie breeding calculator, which funny enough is also made by Freak. And you can put it in here and then hit calculate. You don't have to have 2, just make sure that you have at least 1, hit calculate, and it will actually bring up the genes for it. So it'll tell you, hey, the poppy eyes are complete 100% pure. Same with the ears. Unless you breed it with something else that has different ears, it's probably going to come out this way. But then you look at the mouth and you realize, oh, okay, well, this thing's got some different mouths in it. So there's a chance it could come out with a bird card or a bug. Same with the back. This is a good thing to know, because let's say I want to throw, I'll just choose one of these random ones I have selected. I want to throw like something else in here and see how it would breed. Okay, it's this one here. Well, you can probably see immediately off the bat here, this doesn't look good. This thing is, Tom, what do you think of this thing? You've seen the breeding calculator a few times.
It is just a mess. I don't think I've ever seen this many different types just mashed together.
You know what's funny, Tom? And I want to use this as an example here. This character right here, the second one, was one of my first Axies. I cheaped out in the beginning. I got some poor Axies. I ended up actually having a rough time getting into the game and had to sell them. Thankfully, I was able to recoup my investment for the most part, but then I actually had to go and buy new Axies. So do yourself a favor and don't cheap out. Refer to part 2 on this if you want to make sure you get the best team. I'll give you the resources you need. But for now, just know these are the usable website software resources, and I'll leave links to all of them in the description so that you can use them. Things to consider when you're getting into Axie, so that you don't make an investment that you have to turn around like I did and kind of, clean up and fix out and possibly lose some money on it. So back here, I think we've had a pretty good, explanation as to how to buy Axies, how to look at them. But before we move forward, Tom, Carter, do you guys have any questions, or do you think there's anything that a new player might want me to ask or have answered about specifically choosing an Axie and building a team, without getting too advanced, of course, because we're going to save that for part 2.
So what is SLP, and how does it transfer into like the earning potential in the game?
Good question, Carter. So SLP is one of the primary, I would say the primary currency points in Axie Infinity. What I'll do is I'll go over to my inventory here, and I'll actually go down to claim token, because you can see up here it says I have 238 claimed SLP. It's because I did a lot of breeding, so I don't have a whole lot. I had thousands before, but you can go over here to claim tokens, and it'll actually show right now claimable 0 because I recently claimed. So if I click on claim SLP, it's going to tell me, hey, you have 814 locked from what you've been earning. That's going to be available on May 25th. Now you might be thinking, oh, what? I can't just freely claim it and access it? Yes. No, you can't. Funny enough, it kind of works like a paycheck. You have to claim it in 2-week intervals. So when it comes to the 2-week interval on May 25th, I'm going to have all my SLP that's gained from now to that point claimable. But at the moment, I gotta wait. And one of the main reasons behind this is so that the economy doesn't have, really difficult or bad shifts to deal with, or, we want to keep it healthy. It's also why they only have a limited amount of SLP that you can gain each day, within reason, of course, but it's all to keep value in the economy, because if you just freely gave this stuff out and made it super easy to get, then there wouldn't be a whole lot of value to it. So this is how you claim SLP. What it is it's a couple of different things. The primary use of it is it's used for breeding. When you go to breed 2 Axies, let's just show you here with Nemo's Bride and, of course, my Axie Finding Nemo. So you could imagine I'm going to breed these 2 together. But what you can see here is Nemo is 4 of 7, and Bride here is 2 of 7. So they all have a valuation of how much SLP they need, and then it adds those 2 together to make your total amount needed. Now, I don't have enough. They need 1,100. And this is what SLP is primarily used for, because you could just imagine looking at the marketplace that you get a good Axie and you can breed it with another good Axie. There's a lot of opportunity to sell that Axie and make some good money. You could quite literally make as much money as you spent buying the Axies just by breeding and selling their offspring. Now, in another video, I'll go in more detail on how to actually set that system up so that you can make continuous money with only a limited amount of Axies. But again, that's super advanced. So for now, just know SLP is used for breeding. On top of that, just to throw this out there, you do actually need an AXS token as well, which is another non-fungible token that the Sky Mavis team has developed. This is needed for breeding. You need 1 for each breed. This can be acquired again on Binance. I know they're going through an upgrade process, so just be careful with this. Don't go and just buy a bunch of stuff on Binance. I think that at the moment, Binance does have the new one, but I actually would say probably end up using, give me a sec here, probably use Uniswap at the moment, but just be wary of the liquidity when you're using Uniswap. You don't actually want to go in and you don't want to buy the wrong thing and then realize you've wasted cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency refunds, they just aren't a thing. So anyway, you can go in and get AXS here. Just know that SLP primarily is used for breeding. And another thing you can do, just like I mentioned, you can go and buy it, you can actually sell SLP. Because there are people, myself included, who are big on breeding, and we have a bit of a bigger portfolio together, so we want to actually breed on massive levels. Like I don't have enough SLP to breed everything I want to breed, so I'm going to be playing, of course, with the team here, and as we expand, we're going to make more and more SLP to breed. But this is one of the big things that you can do, is you can take your SLP, you can kind of do a reverse bridge here, where you can actually send it back to your Ethereum, and then go over to either Uniswap. And now at the moment, please be patient about this, because they don't have the liquidity in place. So if you try and sell your SLP at the moment on Uniswap, you are not going to get a good value for it. So just be patient. We're waiting for Binance to get in place. So at the moment, I'm just gonna, and by at the moment I mean I'm recording this in the middle of May. Just be patient about selling your SLP. At the moment, I would say just build it up, because when it comes down to it, unless you really need it for like week-to-week paychecks, and in that case, I don't think you should be an Axie. You should maybe be a scholar where you would just be getting paid out by managers, but you shouldn't be starting an Axie team if you're hurt for cash and you need Axie money to pay your bills. Let's just get that out there straight up. Is that this isn't at a point where you can work a job from a hard place right out of the bat without knowing anyone. This is still an investment and a bit of an experimental and risky project to be invested in. So just want to get that out and make sure that that's clear. And then, yeah, so Carter, I hope that answered a little bit of your question. Did I get most of the points there, or anything else that you think you'd be curious about?
Yeah, it really cleared up a lot for me, actually.
That's good. I'm happy to hear that. And I hope anybody who's watching who might have been thinking the same thing, I hope that that was able to help you as well. So, yeah, with that being said, I think, guys, I think we've definitely touched a lot of the points here. I don't think there's a whole lot else we want to do. Tom, do you have any other questions before I jump into some gameplay and show people what it's like to play Axie?
No, I think it's time to jump into game.
Nice. So this is the point we've all been waiting for, some Axie Infinity gameplay. So I am going to jump onto the, this is the actual app here. If you're on Mac like me, you can download it, but you're going to have to actually download it from the Axie Infinity website. If you're on Windows, you can download it the same way, pretty easy to install. Now, there is a mobile application, but at the moment it's a closed test pilot. So give that maybe a couple of more months, and that will, especially with the funding, be up and running, and then everyone will be able to play it on your mobile as well, which is awesome. I have it on my iPad actually, which is really great. Let me just bring it up here for you. So I can actually play it on an iPad as well, which is great. You guys will all be able to do this soon because this is the best way to be able to do it. Oh, just give me a second here. You can only play it. Actually, this brings me to a really good point. As you can see here, it told me that I was logged in on another device. You can only play on one device at a time. So it's pretty awesome that actually was brought up. I wasn't thinking of that. But just so you guys know, you can only be playing one account on one device at one time. Now, you can have a bunch of accounts under one wallet, but that's a different time that we're going to touch on that. For now, let's jump into a game. And now, fair warning, disclaimer, I am in the top, 1% of gameplay, so my gameplay is going to be just a touch different than yours probably is. But anyway, let's jump in and show you how it goes here. And just for your guys' reference, a triple aqua. This is a weird one.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I like it, though. I definitely do. I think I'm going to start off with just going all in with my boy Nemo here, because that's a lot of deeps. And yeah, let's also go with this, because these triple aqua teams are going to try and be really quick right off the bat. They got the double Nemo plus the Navaga in the back. This here is going to give him a lot of damage. Oh yeah, he's going all in. So for anybody who's here from the beginning, the way this works, and I've got to do this kind of quickly because there's a time limit, is you have Axies lined up fighting each other. And the way that we go about this is we actually have a frontliner, a midliner, a backliner. He has all the same Axie. A little bit of a weird choice, I do agree. But overall, the way that we make this work is you have cards, and these cards have a damage value, which you can see is 120 there, a shield value, which is 30, and a passive. This passive is end target's last stand. This one gives me a lot of shield. All of these cards can be played, and they all have an energy value, which this one is 1, that is proportional to the energy value in the corner here. Now, what I will say, I got to use this, by the way, because I got to try and kill his last stand. I think he's going to pass. Yeah, he's going to pass. So good thing I used that. No problem. The way you want to play this, though, is you don't want to be wasting cards, but you don't want to be just putting yourself dry so you don't have any energy to work with. So play it slow. Understand as well that I'm going to bring up this picture here really quick. There are type differences as well that make a difference here. So different types do different damage to different values. I'll put that in the corner so you guys can analyze it while I play. What I am going to do here is I'm actually going to go all in to try and kill this mid one. So I'm going to use the Double Nut, Sinister, and the Ronin, and then I'm going to use an October Treat here. That's the way I want to do this. Ooh, it looks like he's going all in. He's not going to kill me, so it's a good thing I used the October Treat. He also went all in with this one. Oh, that's kind of funny. He used the double Nemo, so he's going to get some energy. So Aquas do not do positive damage to plants, as you can see over here. They actually do negative. Plants do damage to them. But on the flip side here, Beasts actually do negative damage to Aquas. So I got to play this correctly so that I'm not going to be wasting out my damage. But at the same time, it's not just about wasting damage, it's also about utilizing my energy correctly. So I do want to make sure that I'm using the right cards at the right time to get the right effect. In this case, I know that he is a high damage champion, sorry, I'm a League of Legends player back in the day, a high damage Axie. So I want to try and shield up here so that he's not going to kill me. And this is something you'll have to keep in mind as well as you go. There's going to be times where you will do fantastic and you will be able to just conquer all sorts of different people with your Axie team comp. Other times you got to play it a little bit more strategically, and you've got to work it out so that you're able to compete with different team comps using your comp, because you can't really, you can't anticipate how things are going to go, is you've got to use what you've got. So in this case, unfortunately, I have a beast that's going to have to fight his Aqua, but I've got to use what I've got to use. So I'm going to go in and see if I can beat him like this. Let's see what we can do. I think we might be able to here. We'll see. Oh yeah, it looks like we'll be able to kill him, so that's great. This is going to kill him with the guaranteed critical strike. Okay, now, because I said Axie Infinity, it runs pretty quick, so it was hard for me to explain in the moment as I was going. But now that we have that game done and you guys have seen it progressed with the little bit of explanation that I gave you, let me go a little bit more in detail here with the screen we have in front of us. So what I mentioned was there are types in it. I showed you about the plant type, but now that I've shown you gameplay and talked a bit on it, I'm going to actually leave a I'm going to leave a link in the description so that you guys can see this chart here, because it's a really good chart. I'll throw it up on the Project Arcana site so you all can see it. And this will help you understand, okay, what Axies are good against other Axies and vice versa. These inner triangles are the negative, so anything up here has a negative damage from this, does negative damage to this and takes positive damage from this triangle. So beasts, mechs, and bugs do extra damage to reptiles, dawns, and plants. And yeah, you guys might not know these types, but I'm knowing them, so I'll mention them to you. And vice versa with these over here, having the birds, the aquas, and the dawns, having the damage transfer with this triangle up here and this triangle down here. So this will help you determine how you can set up your team comp so that you're able to actually compete against certain metas. I'm going to jump on that and make that a really big part of the part 2 so that you guys can understand it more thoroughly. But in the gameplay itself, you saw that I had a limited amount of time to choose a certain amount of cards each turn in order to then go into an action phase where both of the teams would then be enacting their cards on the other team in an order that it showed up based on their speed. So he had all aquas, which are pretty quick, so that's why he kept going first. And that's also why I had to play kind of strategically. But I would put cards in place to either defend, attack, or in some way, shape, or form use a utility card to try and give me the upper hand. And now you have round after round that continues to go by. What happens on each round is, from the very beginning, you start with 3 energy. You get, I believe it's 5 cards in total. It could be 6, so I think it might be 6. Yeah, 6 cards, I believe. And then every round thereafter, you gain 2 energy per round, and you draw 3 cards. And now there are different cards out there that will discard or steal energy, so you gotta be a little smart sometimes about how you do things, but that's all part of the strategy, that's all part of the fun. And then when all is said and done, if you do end up coming out victorious, you've got right here in front of you the small love potions. I just told you guys what those were about. They do hold a decent amount of value themselves, but just at the moment it's a little weird, so getting 11 of them is pretty good. I am, as you can see, at 2,345 and being in the top 1%. I get a lot more SLP than your average player, but hey, you guys keep playing, you'll be up here and gaining a bunch of SLP per win. So jumping from there, Carter, Tom, you guys, what do you think about that? Do you have any questions, or do you think there's anything I missed about the gameplay or that you would like to add?
No, I think you covered it pretty well.
Carter?
Yeah, no, I think it was covered very well. It being a new player, you kind of ran over a lot of things like the energy usage and whatnot, and I do believe that was very good.
Okay, good stuff. Yeah, I hope so. And everybody who's watching, if there's anything that didn't make sense, I know I speak quickly. I had to in the gameplay. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I'm on top of what's happening, but I do it quite quickly because you have to. Either way, leave me a comment and ask me a question. I'll go in and I will actually give you guys a more thorough answer. But I think we don't have to go into too much. If you guys want to see more Axie gameplay outside of just the explanation there, make sure that you check out the channel. Subscribe as well, because we put out Axie gameplay content all the time. And if you guys find it interesting, maybe you're not even a player, but you just enjoy watching, we're going to be putting out content all the time. We're going to have Carter and Tom putting out a bunch of content as well, so you guys will have tons of Axie content. But for now, I think this does a really good job wrapping up part 1 of the Ultimate Beginner's Guide. We went over what is Axie, who's the team behind it, the future of Axie, what elements come into play, why Axie over traditional types of investing, how to get started as far as the Ethereum goes and using your crypto wallets, the fees associated with it, and then as well as an introduction to the market and the types themselves and gameplay. So that is pretty much Axie in a nutshell, comprehensively going over everything you need to know to get started on it. I'm gonna, as I said, go into part 2. So if you guys want to check out part 2, which is more about team building, meta, and really in-depth market analysis, then I'll have a link, of course, for the next video. Probably find it up in the corner. If not, it might even come up as a recommendation, so check it out. And yeah, with that being said, guys, just make sure if you like the video, give us a like, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything coming up in the future, and leave us a comment. It helps the algorithm, and you guys could have a valuable question answered by one of us who are professional players. And yeah, with that, Tom, Carter, anything to say before we wrap it up?
No, I think until next time.
Great. All right, guys, until next time.